guys, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Fort Worth Roots.
Who's she?
She's house cat.
Hey, why are we stopping? Hey, you gonna kick us out?
What? Kick you two out and lose a captive audience?
Hi, I'm Kat. All these guys are too much.
Can I ask you a personal question? What the hell do you get out of all this?
Get? That's what screws everybody up. Get. Me, I just give. Doesn't sound like much of a life to me. Yeah, well, let me tell you. It's a roof over my head. It's being on one damn big carousel with a lot of famous people. It's a bed every night, and I don't care whose, and neither do they. So just bug out.
You can find Fort Worth Roots on all your favorite streaming services. You can also get us online at fortworthroots.com. We are also on YouTube. Just look for Fort Worth Roots. Information on all of our sponsors and events that we have coming up will be at the end of the episode. This episode is sponsored by Roofing Solutions by Darren Houk. You can find them at roofingsolutionshouk.com or 817-882-6520. Just by mentioning the Fort Worth Roots podcast, you get 50% off on a much-needed roofing tune-up. Again, that's 817-882-6520. Our guest today is a producer and an actor. He is currently shooting a series here in Fort Worth called Bailout. You can find the first 2 episodes, and we will have links to that in the show notes. He was also a stand-in and stunt double for actor Robin Williams. You might recognize that name. I was very excited to meet this guy and get to hear a little bit about his life and some of his stories. We're going to have him back on the show. We did not actually talk about Robin Williams very much or all that good stuff, so we definitely have to get him back here inside the Fort Worth Roots studio. Okay, that's enough out of me. Thank y'all for being here. Give it up for our guest today, Dennis O'Neil, and let's start the show.
Did you hear him?
Yeah, there's a script that you have that he knows you finished to give him. The script that you're going to give Paul today. You remember?
Angie, you're supposed to be on my side.
I'm on your side, Dennis, I promise.
Aren't you from the neighborhood?
I am. So this will get piped in later, but this is the little intro for the show. And we're here with Dennis O'Neil, a local Fort Worth artist that is in the middle of a web series called Bailout. And you play a detective. And do you want to go into details about that before I start messing it up?
Yeah, we're on. Wow, this is pretty cool. I like this. Wow, no setup. Finally. This is what I've been asking for, something like this. Yeah, it's about a New York City detective who has a run-in with the mob, and the mob wants to whack him now. Mm-hmm. And so he goes to Fort Worth to take over his late uncle's failing bail bonds business that he inherited. And the mob follows him, and instead of whacking him, they end up liking him. So they work for him as bounty hunters. And so my character, Jimmy O'Neil, was a part of the mob, but he was only like an associate because he was half Irish and he was half Sicilian, but you have to be all Italian to be in the mob.
Right, of course,
yeah.
To get in the club.
Yeah, because, if you're all Italian, then you're the right guy, Half Irish, forget about it. We completed 2 episodes.
Okay.
So what I did was I started writing this in 2007 after I had an audition for, I forgot what it was for, but it was a Judd Hirsch type of a character. And, of course, I know who Judd Hirsch was, or is. He's still alive. So I went there, and the casting director really liked it. And she said, look, I'm not going to wait till I call your agent. I'm just going to ask you now, can you come to a callback on Thursday? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I went there on Thursday, and she had, I guess the guy was 21 years old. Her assistant, she couldn't make it. And so I sit there, and I had a sweater on, kind of like what Judd Hirsch used to wear on Taxi, the TV, the comedy show. And so he said to me, so this is Judd Hirsch kind of a character. And, I didn't want to do an impersonation of the character. So I just gave a flavor of him. And he said, okay, can we do that again? I said, yeah, absolutely. What do you want me to do? He said, well, this is a Judd Hirsch kind of a character. And I'm looking at this 21-year-old kid, and I'm thinking, am I in the right place? And I said, yeah, I know. He said, well, you know who Judd Hirsch was. Now I really wanted to strangle the kid because I took it as an insult. I mean, I grew up watching Taxi.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I know who he is. And I said to myself, do you know who he is? So he said, well, he's kind of effeminate. And I'm just looking at him, and all these thoughts are going through my mind, and I'm thinking, okay, the kid's 21 years old, nothing wrong with that, but he hasn't a clue who Judd Hirsch was or is. And he said, could you play it a little more effeminate? And, I wasn't going to play the typical, quote unquote, gay type. So I played it a little more effeminate. And he said, okay, thank you. So I get outside, I'm in the hallway, and now I'm thinking, okay, so she wasn't there, and she knows me, and she knows my acting ability, and he's going to send this in to the director and the producer, who knows that Judd Hirsch was an intellectual. He wasn't effeminate in any way. And then I could have kicked myself. If I could reach, I would have kicked myself. And I thought, why did I give in to him? Why didn't I just say, no, I'm not going to play it that way. That's not Judd Hirsch. So I went home and I said, I'm going to write my own ticket. I can't take this. Auditioning for people, and you put your life and career in their hands, which I understand, the audition process. I understand that. But there's just times that, you just feel like you shortchanged yourself, and that's what I felt like.
Sure, yeah.
So I went home and I started writing Bailout.
Now, at that point, was that the first time that you'd stepped out on your own to do your own art?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're in 07 now.
We're in 07. Yeah, now I did a show prior to that, which I don't want to say the name of it, because I don't want it to get any publicity. But I did a show prior to that with those words in the name. Mm-hmm. But my character was married like 5 times, a used car salesman. He was a loser, and his wife in the divorce gave him a bail bonds office in Texas. And so I didn't want my character to be like that. And my dad always wanted to be a New York City cop, but he was 5'6", and at the time they had a height limit, so could never do it.
What, like 6 foot? You needed to be
Well, you needed to
taller?
be, I think you needed to be over 5'9", I believe.
Well, dang, neither one of us could have done it either.
No. And I always liked, I went to PS 32, and there's this guy, Bill the cop. And he was a real cop, but he would do the crosswalk for the kids. And I would always just hang out on the corner just watching him doing all of that. And one day he gave me a whistle and he gave me a little badge. He said, why don't you be my assistant? And I thought, wow, this is great. So I always liked cops. My older brother wanted to be a cop, but he never fulfilled that. And so I made my character a New York City cop,
Nice.
Detective.
Yeah.
Who was, in his younger days, who was involved with the mob.
So when did you make the move here to Fort Worth, and what made you want to do this project here in Fort Worth, Texas?
So I moved here in about 1988 or 89. I was doing a lot of motivational speaking around the country. And so I came to Texas 6 times, and I would speak in schools and prisons and churches and any place that had an audience. Mm-hmm. And I would get invited. So I came here like 6 times, and my wife wanted to move here, and I said, no, I'm in New York. I'm going to live in New York till the day I die. And I kind of like Texas, kind of. I liked the people, and I liked everyone was so nice, and it was just different, and I loved seeing men and women with their cow gear on, because you don't get to see that unless you go to a certain place in New York City. You would see it, but you don't see that, and I just found that fascinating. That people, that was their style. That's what they would do. Growing up in Brooklyn, we wore leather jackets and things like that, and I really dug that style, and so I said, let's try it for a year. I'm still here.
Nice.
So what I tell people is, I heard God lived in Fort Worth, and that's why I moved here. But then I found out that he vacations in Brooklyn. So.
Probably the heat, I would think, would be the first thing you'd notice in that first year.
Oh man, it was. I forgot the month that my wife said it was August, I think, but it was 93 degrees at night, like 10 o'clock at night. In New York, 80 degrees, we're steaming.
Yeah.
And 93 at night. So we were in the pool. And funny thing, I just thought of this. I know you didn't ask, but I'm just going to tell you.
I want to know.
I do. Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, you do. So the day we moved in, we got everything in. Two things happened. That was strange. The guy that helped me move in, he was affiliated with this church I started to go to down here. And when we were all done, he said, Dennis, I want to hear your New York accent again, because you got some thick New York accent. And I looked at him, I said, excuse me? So he has this, I call it Southern accent. I guess, does Texans consider themselves Southern? I don't know.
Well, we're Texan.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
It's a whole different thing.
That's what I found out. So Texas is a whole new country. Mm-hmm. And did you know that since I've been here, I've been working towards this. I just got my green card.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, because they believe that New Yorkers are in another country as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I fell in love with Texas, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. I really can't. I really love it. So, so I was doing these motivational things, but let me get to the story that I wanted to tell you. So that night, we went to the convenience store. Yeah, it was I don't think it was a 7-Eleven. What's the big stores that you guys have here?
We got Stripes, QTs, racetracks.
It was it was a QT or a racetrack.
Yeah.
So we got all of our food, and it was late at night. It was almost midnight, and I'm getting ready to take my money out, and the woman said, "So how you all doing?" And this is what I did. Now, I know they can't see me, but I looked up and I said, "What?" She said, "How you all doing?" And I looked at my wife. I looked at the door to see if anybody was by the door. And I said, "I'm doing good. Why? Why'd you ask?" And she said, "What?" I said,
"That's just what you do around here."
"Yeah, why did you ask me how I'm doing? What's next?" She said, "I don't know. I just thought I'd ask." Look, where we grew up in Brooklyn and Long Island, people don't ask you how you're doing.
Yeah.
There's got to be something. And if they do, there's something behind it. Yeah. And then we found out this is the way people are. So I put that in my show, Bailout.
Nice.
I go into a convenience store. The woman says, "How y'all doing?" And I go through the whole thing. Yeah.
I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and this is the first time I'd ever been exposed to kind of the counterculture, the reverse of what I'm used to. But I walked into a convenience store, and I mean, the sun's out, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, and I had a kind of a layover situation. I was stuck in Phoenix for the night, and I walk in there, I'm going to get myself a 6-pack of beer. I'm going to walk back to the hotel. Now, on the way to the gas station, which is maybe a city block or two away, I don't notice anything. I walk in there, get my beer, go up to the counter, and it's a 60-something-year-old woman with neon pink hair, and she's the only one working the store. And I go up there, and I put my beer up, and she says, "Is that going to be it?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, it is." And she looked at me, and she goes, "Honey, you take your ass inside, and you don't come back outside until the sun comes up. You don't know where you are, do you?" And I'm like, what did I do wrong? And she goes, look behind you. You see that bleach spot on the floor? That's the reason I'm here. I don't work at this location. The lady last night got shot. She's dead now. You will be too if you don't go inside. Everybody around here knows that you're not from the area.
Whoa.
You can't go around talking to people like that. Yes, ma'am, and stuff.
Oh.
And so I got my beer, and I was like, thank you. I didn't know how to
Wake-up
respond.
call, man.
So I walked out of the doors, and now it's like the blinders are off, and I can see there's a crackhead in the middle of the intersection staring up at the sky. Cars are honking, going by at 50 miles an hour, and he's just kind of wandering through traffic. And there's all these guys that have accumulated right around the store. I don't know if they were there when I walked in. I don't even remember seeing them, but just really rough-looking dudes.
Wow.
And as soon as I came out of the door, they're like, hey, man, let me talk to you real quick. And I'm like, that's okay. And I just kept walking.
Yeah.
And on the way back to the hotel, and this is the thing that I'll really never forget, is there was a guy on a bicycle. And he's on my left, and he's in between me and a fence. And I'm walking. And he gets close enough to me. I go, hey, how you doing? And he damn near fell off his bike. I didn't yell at him. But I probably waved and, hey, how you doing? And he just about fell off his bicycle. So yeah, it's different here.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, we noticed it a lot when we went to what's that area? Where the steer.
Were you in Fort Worth?
Yeah, where the steers come out. Stockyards. People tip their hat to you, say how you doing, and man, it's really refreshing. I really like it. It's so different than New York that I really like it. So
yeah. Now, when you say New York, were you in the city?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I still have an apartment in Manhattan.
You're paying for that?
No, I sublease it to friends.
Okay.
So I have somebody there right now, and she's taking care of it. And I don't know why I kept it. I mean, I kept it because I loved going back to New York.
Yeah.
I don't love it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Because it's just so bad now. It's just so bad. You know, Asian women are getting knocked out by these guys unaware. And people are getting shot, and it's not the New York that I grew up in. But I grew up in Brooklyn also, so that's really different than Manhattan.
Yeah.
Actually, we would get together in Brooklyn and say, hey, let's walk over the Brooklyn Bridge, go into Manhattan. And so sometimes when I would play hooky, that's what I would do.
That's a long walk. It's a big bridge.
Yeah, but you know, being little kids, we didn't think that. We just thought, wow, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And then when you got to the middle of the bridge, you know, you saw everything. Then we get to the Manhattan side. We didn't know what to do. So we just look around, say, okay, let's go back home.
Made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. I remember doing dumb stuff like that when I was a kid too. You just go on these little adventures, right?
Yeah.
Without the adult supervision, who's going to stop you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So whenever you started to move into the working class workforce, what am I trying to say here? Whenever you got your first job, when you started building your career and moving towards acting, how did that progression take place?
Well, I'll tell you something. My first film, it wasn't bad.
Do we get to know the name of this one?
Ah, man, all right. I never wanted to say it, but now it's online. Teenage Hitchhikers.
Okay.
And I had long hair, and I was a hippie, and I played a rock singer. And we picked up these hitchhike girls, and I started singing to them, and that was my scene, basically. I had some dumb dialogue about donuts, a baker's dozen. I don't know. But anyway, so I hated it, and I didn't want to do it. So, but a friend of mine who had that role, he called me. He said, Dennis, listen, and he's an actor, and I was a singer. He said, listen, I got this role, but they want me to sing and play guitar. And he said, I don't, but you do. I said, oh, yeah, what does it consist of? He said, just singing and playing guitar. He said, here's the address, go down, meet the director. So I went down there, and he took me in a studio, something like this, and he showed me a screen. And there was a guy playing a guitar with no strings. And this is what he was literally doing. He was strumming, going blah, 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 blah. That's all he was doing. And the director said, could you put words to that? I said, yeah. So I don't know how I did it. But, back then, I guess still today, if they asked you, can you do this? Yeah, of course I can.
So this is just like an exercise. They're trying to see where your improv's at.
No, they really needed somebody to put words into what that guy was singing.
Okay.
I don't know why, because they never used it, but I did it. And he said, okay, you got the part, you got the job. I said, oh, great. So he gave me the address. It was in Jersey. Gave me the address. I brought my guitar and everything. And I was a van driver, and all I knew I was going to sing. Mm-hmm. You were going to pull off the side of the road, and we were hippies, so smoke a dope and sing and yada, yada, yada. He said to me, okay, here's the script. I said, script for what? He said, for your lines. I said, well, I know the song. He said, no, your lines, your dialogue. And I said, could you explain? He said, you're not just singing, you're acting in this. I said, wait a minute. I am not acting. I'm not an actor. I'm a singer. And he looked at me and said, are you serious? I said, yeah, I am. I'm not doing it. He said, you have to do it. You're here. I said, I don't care. I'm not doing it. I'm not an actor. And I'll tell you why in a minute that I was so bent on not doing this. So he kept talking to me. He said, look, man, I'll give you $200. I said, give me the script. And $200 back then could have bought a lot of dope.
Yeah.
Which I am not into now, just for your listeners.
No judgment. So why were you so adamant about not wanting to take an acting role?
Okay, so when I was growing up, I was a pretty bad kid. I was always in fights. I was just a bad kid. At the age of 12, I was smoking, drinking beer in the park, and I was just a bad kid. And they didn't know what to do with me. So I guess they thought if we put him in a play, maybe that'll help get his life together. And, I was up for anything. I said, yeah, wow, yeah, okay. So I was in the play, and then opening night, I was not ready for opening night because for 3 or 4 weeks we were in rehearsal. Nobody was in the theater. It's just us, the cast, and the director. But then opening night, when the curtains opened, the lights came up on the stage, and you couldn't see the audience. That was a totally new experience for me. And I'm seeing all these kids in the theater club doing these great monologues and things, and then it was my turn to come downstage and do my monologue. I was so nervous. I walked down there, and if you go a little past the lights, you could see the whole audience, and that's what I did. I went just a little past. I saw the audience, and I backed up. I literally, in the 9th grade, peed in my pants in front of 500 people.
Oh, my God, dude.
And I said,
that's rough.
I will never do this ever again. This is it. Never. So when I did that movie, that's all I could think of. I'm going to pee in my pants in front of all these people. But so I did it, and then I was telling, after I became an actor, and I'll get back to all of that, but after I became an actor, I started teaching. And I told my students about my first movie, and I said, I'm not going to tell you the name of it. And so they kept asking me, and I had called Screen Actors Guild to get a copy of it, and they said, we can't find it. There's no copies. We can't find this. But that got me in the union, so it was a little confusing. I didn't know what was up with it, but I guess it was they stopped making tapes of it. And so it couldn't be found. So with that, I felt confident, and I told my students, I said, it was called Teenage Hitchhikers, but you're not going to find it. And I would have been very happy if they didn't find it. So a week later, one of my students said, found Teenage Hitchhikers. I said, no, you didn't. She said, yes, I did. I said, let me see it. She said, it's on YouTube. I said, no, it's not on YouTube. My heart dropped because I did not want them to see me in this movie. It wasn't. Look, you're looking at
I'm going to see if I can pull it up.
Okay. I think it's The Teenage Hitchhikers.
Let's see if I can pull that up. So your students got a copy of it. And
Yeah.
probably started sharing that link around. And
Yeah. Then I watched it, and what was embarrassing about it is some of the actresses, 2 of them, were topless, and I didn't want my students to see that.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I thought I was terrible in it. So when I looked at it, I said, wow, I did pretty good as first-time actor. And so I ordered the DVD, and I have it. Are you finding it?
Teenage Hitchhikers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got clips of it.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look at this later, but
Is there a van?
yeah. Here you go. Teenage. It's a clip. It's a 4
That's me.
minute clip.
Yeah.
You're
Now
the
they're
one-
running. I'm opening the door for them. That's me. So now I give them this dumb dialogue. Yep, there I am. I looked a little like Geraldo Rivera back then.
Let's let's do this for the listeners. Let's we can at least pipe in the audio.
Okay, you might have to bleep some things out.
We don't do that here.
Oh, okay.
Let's see how cringy this is. I'm sorry to make you live this.
That's all right.
Not stopped at a traffic light. Chicks want to lift. Let's go.
And that's you talking there?
Yeah, that's me. Let's go.
Thanks. It's really black out there.
Chicks have a destination. Or run away.
This is gold, man.
You might say we're heading for that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Forget it. There's no rainbow. There's no gold. Just some dirty old pots.
Hey, what the hell are we stopping for?
We have company. You hungry?
Yeah.
Help yourself.
Yeah, I'll be back there with my guitar.
Beautiful.
And then I sing this stupid song.
Hi.
I guess that's a good song.
I'm Bomber, and that's Screamer.
I'm Mouse, and this is my friend Bird. Hey, are you a group?
Yeah, you an agent?
What do you call yourselves?
Energy Crisis.
Who's she?
She's house cat.
Hey, why are we stopping? Hey, you gonna kick us out?
What? Kick you 2 out and lose a captive audience?
Hi, I'm Kat. Oh, these guys are too much. You'll see.
It's a good thing we're just playing the audio because that woman had no top on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if folks want to see the rest of this...
Well, wait, we have to
you-
hear me at least
Oh,
sing.
yeah, okay, let's do that. I'm
Then
sorry.
you don't have to keep it on.
I didn't know if I was bothering you or...
No.
We'll keep it going.
Wonder floats above the earth and watches from the distance through her eyes.
Man.
Bring back some memories.
Oh, yeah.
Me, I roll the ball around and shake an angry fist against the
And what was kind of the plot of this movie?
I have no idea. I really don't. I didn't read the whole script. I just read my lines.
I am that
And this was kind of the... Did you have any other parts in this movie, or was this
No,
pretty much it?
that whole thing was it.
Yeah.
So these 2 girls are going around the country hitchhiking, and it's all the experiences they have, basically. But that's all I know about it.
Yeah.
Let's see, Paul wanted to hear me sing, so there you go.
There you go, Paul.
Paul, you have that contract?
Okay, man. How long have you been with the group?
Do you like
Is that you on harmonica?
do?
No, that's
Man, I just
the other guy.
am. I'm with them. That's what I do.
Very cool.
What about your parents?
That was a clip by Hope this doesn't hurt your feelings. Bad movie scenes.
Yeah. That's good. I like
The
that.
name of the YouTube channel.
I like that because you know what's coming. So you asked me about the whole career thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's when, I just felt that I did a terrible job. But first time, when I saw it, I thought, okay, for a hippie kind of a movie, I guess I was natural.
No, it was good.
Yeah,
I mean,
but it is a bad movie. So bad that they stopped distributing it. So they really did stop distributing it. I don't know. Yeah, I contacted, I think, YouTube. Even the union couldn't get me a DVD. But the YouTube, they sent me one.
oh, really?
Yeah.
They sent you a DVD of a video that was on their platform.
Yes, for $15.
What? That's
Yeah.
so wild.
Yeah.
But it looks like somebody just, and I don't know this, but just looking at the quality of the video that we just watched, that could have been a VHS to digital. Like somebody took a tape and uploaded it.
It was. I think it was 16 millimeter film that they shot it on, and yeah, then they probably did just what you said.
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do any acting. So my wife said to me, why don't you go back to school, become a teacher? I said, a teacher? I can't stand kids. Why would I want to be a teacher? So I
Now, was this after you'd already made the move to Texas?
No, this was way before Texas. So I went to Suffolk County Community College, and I was online for non-credited courses, and I was going to take all these music courses just to appease my wife. But what she didn't know is that I quit high school. So I couldn't have gone to college anyway. I mean, this is how bad I was. The assistant principal called me into his office, and it was my junior year. He said, O'Neill, 2 things I'm going to tell you. 1, you'll never make it in life. 2, you'll never make it to your senior year.
Jeez.
Go back to your class. And I thought, wow, what an encouraging guy.
So y'all probably don't talk anymore.
No.
Not one of the faculty that you kept up with over life.
No. And there are a couple that I did, but not him.
Yeah.
So I squeaked by into my senior year. That week, I just got up out of class and I walked to his office. And he said, what are you doing here? Go back to class. I said, I quit. He said, you quit what? I said, I quit school. And I walked out. So for the next 10 years, I was working in factories. I was cleaning restaurants. I was a short order cook, just nowhere jobs. So I didn't tell my wife that I quit. But I did go up to the school, and I went on to the non-credited courses. And this counselor saw me, and he said, what are you doing on this line? I said, I'm signing up for music courses. He said, why don't you go on that line? That's where you get credit. I said, oh, no, I can't go to school. No, I can't. And I didn't have a high school diploma.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but you can get all these, all this money, and you can get all these grants and things like that. And I said, I'd like to, but he said, come to my office. And he was a big guy. I went to his office. He sat me down. He said, look, if I were you, I'd really consider going to school full time. He said, I can get you money for your books, food, extra money, yada, yada, yada. And I was a wheeler dealer kind of a guy. At the time, I was dealing drugs. So, you come up with a good money-making scheme, I'm in on it. I said, really? I can get all this money? He said, yeah. I said, look, I quit high school. He said, you quit school? I said, man, don't judge me. Yeah, I quit school. He said, no, I'm not judging you.
Get you more money.
Well, this is what he said. He said, this year, this school started this program. If you quit school, you go full time. He said, some of your credits would spill over because you'll have to take extra classes. Spill over, you'll get your high school diploma. I said, really? And I'll get all that money? He said, I'll get you even more. I said, sign me up.
Nice.
So signed me up, and I needed one more elective course. And I said, well, give me another music course, because I was a full-time singer. That's what I was doing. And I also taught ballroom dancing at the time. And he said, well, we're out of music courses, so just take an acting course. And I went, no. It was like, no, I don't want to take an acting course. And I didn't want to tell him what happened in the 9th grade. He said, Dennis, just take the acting course. All you'll do is read scripts, and, you'll get an A. I said, really, that's it? He said, yeah. I said, all right, sign me up. So he signed me up with this woman, Professor Harriet Novick. I sat down, and we were reading, and she was talking, yada, yada, yada. When the class was over, I was walking out. She said, Dennis O'Neill, I want to talk to you. I said, sure, what is it? She looked me up and down and said, so you're a dancer? I said, well, I teach ballroom dancing. How do you know? She said, well, I'm a director. I observe people. And she said, I want you to audition for cabaret. I said, cabaret, you mean singing in a cabaret? She said, well, it's a musical. It's a play. And I thought, no way. So I said, yeah, okay, all right. She said, 7 o'clock tonight. I said, yeah, okay, I'll be there. But see, I was the type of a guy that, let's say you and I were talking, and I really wasn't interested in what you had to say, and you said, could you meet me here, and we'll do this? I'll say, yeah, I'll be there, and never show up.
Shit.
That's the kind of a guy I was. So she, I didn't show up. 7:15, she calls me up. She says, where are you? And I said to her, where did you call me? She said, at your home. Don't be a smartass. And I said, look, I really can't do this. I just got married. I'm going to school full time. It's taken a lot out of me, and I'm working full time also. She said to me, get your ass down here in 15 minutes, or this will be the worst year you've ever had. And she hung up on me. Now I'm thinking, she's going to get all my money taken away from me. I can't let her do that. So I rushed down there. And she said, okay, get up on the stage. So I got up on the stage, and she said, just say these lines. I said some lines. She said, walk back and forth. I walked back and forth, and she had these winding stairs for the play. Mm-hmm. And it's, I guess, in Cabaret, Joel Grey, who had the part of the MC, he was walking up the stairs. She said, walk up the stairs and come down with a, I forgot the word she used, but I didn't know what it meant. And she said, just come down and give me a, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? It was kind of an evil laugh.
Okay.
And whatever the word was, I didn't know what it meant, because I quit high school, And she said, I came down, and I just laughed. I went, ha, 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 ha. She said, no, I want it to be more of that word. It's more like an evil laugh. So I came down, and I tried to do the evil laugh, and she said, look, can you just go back up the stairs? Look out. There's a lot of us out here, okay? Look out at somebody that you would love to kill. And I thought, well, that's easy. That's you.
She's talking, right?
Yeah. So I came down the stairs, and I looked at her, and I gave this evil laugh like, she said, okay, thank you. I thought, oh, man, that was easy. Then she said, okay, sing this song. The piano player is going to give you the music. And it was in French, German, and English. And I said to him, is she serious? He said, yeah. I said, I can't even pronounce these words. I could barely speak English. I'm going to speak German and French. He said, can you read music? I said, yeah, I could read some music. He said, just do anything. Let sounds come out. So he gave me the intro, and this is what I did, literally. And I did that whole thing. And so he did it for like 8 or 16 bars. And she said, okay, thank you. And I thought, what a waste of my time and her time. So I walked out, and the next day I come to class and walking past the theater, and there's all these kids in the drama club and everything, and they're all looking to see if the name was on it, so they got the part. And I'm thinking, I hope I didn't get a part. I don't think I did, but I hope I didn't get a part. So as I'm walking past, this guy says to me, "Hey, Dennis, don't you want to look at the list?" I said, "Nah, it's all right." He said, "Your name's on it." I said, "What?" "Your name is on it." I said, "For what?" He said, "Come look." It was the MC's part, one of the leads. And I looked at that. I said, "No way. This is a joke." And so I went to her room, and I said, "Why is my name on that list?" She said, "How about saying thank you?" I said, "Thank you for what?" She said, "You have a lead role in this." And I'm thinking, I don't want any role in this. All right, so let me cut to the chase. So we start having rehearsals. Now I am so nervous. I've never sang with a 16-piece orchestra, so that was nerve-wracking. And plus, these people were smart, and they're musicians, and I'm working with professors. I've never done this before. And okay, so opening night. I don't know what came over me, but somebody dropped a scarf in the middle. So the opening came with the singers and the dancers. Then they left. There was a scarf, and it was a red scarf, and the audience saw it.
On stage.
On stage. So I come out, the music is playing, and and I come out and I picked it up. I don't know why I did this. And I wrapped it around my neck, and I pushed it back, and I went, "Ha ha! Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome." And I started singing in German, French, and English. And I had a blast. I had a blast. At the end, we got a standing ovation. And I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That is so cool, man.
Yeah. So then I started doing more plays and auditioning. My first big movie was Raging Bull, starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci. And the director was Martin Scorsese.
That's a big name. That's a big movie.
Yeah. And I remember it was at a theater in Manhattan. That's where we had to walk to. And I remember it was like a movie, and I could still see it so clear today. I'm walking down the alleyway, and I saw all these actors and people sitting down getting their haircuts, and they're doing the hair and makeup and wardrobe. And it was an amazing feeling. And so I was hired as a sailor, but it was a background role. But when they found out that I could dance, they asked me, "Can you do the Lindy Swing?" I said, "It's one of my favorites." So I did the Lindy Swing. They had the camera on me and everything, and it was great.
That's awesome.
It was great. So then, I started doing all the soap operas in New York, and started doing commercials and getting some nice roles. I became Robin Williams' stunt double. And
Paul had mentioned that.
Yeah.
That's something we're going to have to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But, we would meet up I have such great memories. We would meet up at the Screen Actors Guild. It was on 46th Street off Broadway. And about 7 of us would meet up there 9, 10 o'clock with our coffee. And we'd look at the board to see all the auditions and all the agents we could go to. So we started out like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we'd do our rounds. The rounds were you walk around around the city to all these offices, all these auditions, give you your headshot, picture and resume. You either do the audition or you set up a time for the audition, and we just had a blast. Then we'd go to lunch all together, and that was our day, 5 days a week. That's what we did. And it was just like, I felt like God was creating a script for my life. And then, all these years later, I have all these great stories. Really great stories. I was in a TV movie with Betty Davis, who my father, my mother, my brothers I mean, they would watch all these old movies. And so I grew up watching Betty Davis.
Right.
And now here I am in a movie with Betty Davis. And I have a really great story. I remember coming back from lunch, and I was sitting on the set, and I was at a table and just sitting there. And I looked up and I saw this shadow walking back and forth on where they're going to film next. And I didn't know who it was. And somebody came up and said, "Miss Davis, can I have your autograph?" This is what she did. She was walking back and forth, going over her lines, going over the blocking.
Kind of in the middle of something?
Yes. Even though it was still the lunch break, she was, in the middle of something. She looked at her and said, "Not while I'm working." And she continued, and I went, "Oh my God." And I loved Betty Davis. And I didn't care how tough she was. I didn't care what people thought of her. I still loved her. I didn't care how rude she was. I still loved her. So later that day, there was a break. It was a coffee break, and she was literally having coffee. I walked over to her and I said, "Miss Davis, not now, but I'm here for the next 2 weeks. I'm playing a family member of yours. If I could get your autograph from my wife, that would be great, but not now." And she said, "Don't leave. What's your wife's name?" I said, "Carmen." She said, "Carmen, come to my trailer at 7 a.m. tomorrow." I said, "Yes, ma'am." I walked away. I thought, was there a camera on me or something? Okay, so the next day, I get there early. I wait till exactly 7 a.m. because I don't want to get her upset. I knock on the door. This black maid opens the door and says, and she was so nice, "Yes, honey, can I help you?" I said, "Well, my name is Dennis O'Neill. Miss Davis told me to come here." And she said, "Oh, honey, Miss Davis is getting prepared." And then I hear Betty Davis's voice say, "Who is it, Mabel?" And she said, "What's your name, honey?" I said, "Dennis O'Neill." "It's Mr. Dennis O'Neill, ma'am." And she said, "Have him wait right there." And she said, "Wait right here." She closes the door. I'm waiting and waiting. All of a sudden, the door opens. Betty Davis hands me an envelope and says, "For Carmen." And I take it. I said, "Thank you." She closed the door. I go to the holding area. It was an 8x10 picture of her, and she said, "For Carmen, Betty Davis." I went, oh. I still have it hanging up in my
You better,
in my house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, I have stories like that. Do you remember who Donald O'Connor was?
Maybe if I saw a picture.
Okay, so he was a huge song and dance man. He was in these movies with Gene Kelly. He was on Broadway. Bye Bye Birdie.
Okay.
He played the lead agent, and I had a part-time job as a waiter at Wolf's Deli because I lived on 57th Street and 8th Avenue, and Wolf's Deli was on 56th Street. 57th Street and 6th Avenue. And so, and Donald O'Connor was once, like 30 years later, was once again in Bye Bye Birdie, but he was playing a different role. And it was another lead role. And it was on Broadway. So he came there for lunch or dinner, and he was in my station. And some of the other younger guys didn't recognize him because I grew up in a family that was always into entertainment, so I knew who all these people were, even though I was very young when I saw them. And I said, "Oh my God, that's Donald O'Connor." And so I'm taking the order, and I kept looking over at him thinking, I can't believe Donald O'Connor is sitting here. And I'm taking all their orders. And so I delivered their food, and I said, Mr. O'Connor, I never do this, but do you think at some point you could just give me your autograph on a napkin? So, and he said, "What's your name?" I said, "Dennis O'Neill." He said, "Dennis O'Neill." No. I said, I'm very sorry. said, it's okay. He said, you spell your name with 2 L's? I said, yes, I do. Now I know I'm in trouble. So I go back, and anyway, he leaves. I come to work the next day. My manager says, Dennis, come here. What happened with Donald O'Connor yesterday? I said, Morty, I never do this, but the guy's a legend. I grew up watching him. Like, my family loved him. He said, so what did you ask him? I said, Morty, I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. I asked him for his autograph. And Morty looked at me. He went, turns around, hands me an envelope. Another manila envelope. And I opened it up in front of Morty, and it said, to my friend, Dennis O'Neill, I want to see that name in lights. I went, and I closed it. Later that night, I'm getting the chills. Later that night, I'm waiting on him again. And I said, Mr. O'Connor, thank you so much. That was so nice of you. He said, what are you doing tomorrow night? I said, I'm working till 5. He said, oh, did you see Bye Bye Birdie? I said, no. He said, would you like to? I said, yeah. He said, do you want 2 tickets? I said, no, my wife's working, so 1 ticket would be great. He said, okay, go to Will Call and there'll be a ticket for you. He said, at the end, when you leave, come around to 46th Street to the stage door and make sure you tell them I want to see you in my dressing room. I said, okay. Go to the theater, right in the middle. I mean, I had the best seat. So it was almost like eye level of all of them performing. So at the end, I go around to stage door and knock on it. This guy comes out. He says, can I help you? I said, well, Mr. O'Connor wanted to see me. He said, Mr. O'Connor's busy. He's got his family upstairs. I said, well, he told me that he wanted to see me. He said, what's your name? I said, Dennis O'Neill. He said, wait here. Goes upstairs, comes back down and says, Mr. O'Neill, Mr. O'Connor would like to see you. Go upstairs, knocks on the door. Donald O'Connor opens up the door and says, my new friend, Dennis O'Neill, come on in. This is my wife. This is my daughter. Have a seat. You want something to drink? Water, Coke, or anything? I said, yeah, water. Had a great conversation with him. And things like that throughout my life have happened with these great legendary stars.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like hearing these stories. You know that some people that I sit down with have got so many of them, you don't know where to start. But you've got a way of telling these stories in a way that's understandable and digestible. You know, every once in a while, I'll sit down with somebody, and I actually, we had a similar setup with Ken Scott, who you probably know. Ken Scott.
Where do I know that name?
He's an actor as well. He was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yes, I do know.
It's a friend of Paul's, so I figured maybe y'all
know
each
of
other.
him.
But
yeah.
You know, you just know they've got stories, and it takes a minute to sit down and find a way to get those stories out.
Yeah,
because you forget. Sometimes you don't know what you remember.
Yeah, you're right.
But you got to sit down. You got to kind of dig these stories out.
And and it's when I tell these stories, I start thinking of all these other stories.
Right,
you know, when I met Robert De Niro, he wasn't talkative on the set, and so you didn't have a chance to meet him. And so while we were working on Raging Bull, I was still background, so I wasn't a dancer yet on it. And I remember taking a shower, and we had a very long day, almost a 16-hour day. It was 15 and a half hours, and I was drenched. It was in July, and all the air conditioning was off. I went home, took a shower, and I just took a walk on Broadway because, after something like that, you can't go to sleep right away.
Sure.
And so I just took a walk, and I passed this restaurant called The Saloon. And there was Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci sitting outside with their makeup on, so people didn't recognize them. But I was working with them all day, and I thought, this might be my chance. I walked over to him, and I just knelt down. I said, listen, Bobby. And I knew my brother my brother had him over his house, okay? And he wanted to be called Bobby. So I said to my brother, why didn't you invite me? He said he didn't want anybody over because my brother, who passed away 10 years ago, was married to Jacqueline LaMotta, Jake LaMotta's daughter.
Okay.
So De Niro was doing the life story of Jake LaMotta, the boxer. And so that's really how I got in it. And but anyway, so I went over to him and I knelt down. I said, listen, Bobby, I'm looking around. I said, I'm not going to make a big deal about this, but all I need is just a little push on this movie, maybe one word. And he's sitting there with his hand up, his finger up on his temple like this. And he's listening to me doing that thing with his mouth. Then he said, I know what you need. I said, really? He said, listen, I know what you need. Don't worry about it. I said, look, thank you very much. And I left. He didn't do anything for me. So he didn't mention me. He didn't say anything. And I told him who I was. My brother is married to Jacqueline. And, Jake LaMotta is his father-in-law. And he didn't care. He didn't care. And Joe Pesci was sitting there patiently. And I looked at Joe. I said, yeah, thanks, Joe. Nice working with you guys. And Joe just gave me who's this guy?
Yeah. Well, that's on par with how I would expect those two characters to respond, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought he was going to at least say to me, yo, you're good. Listen to me. You're very, very good. I said you're good. But he didn't say that.
So, I think you mentioned earlier that you moved into education.
Yeah.
Is that true? So, what did you do in education?
Well, after I got my degree, my associate's degree, I graduated with honors, which was that's out of left field. I was always a stupid kid. I did stupid things, I always failed tests in school. I really don't even know how I made it to my senior year, except my senior year, I really worked in my junior year to get there. But even that was so painful. So when I moved here, I started to go to UTA. I just thought, let me see how it goes. And I knew if I committed to UTA, even for one course, then that's it. I'm going to go and get my bachelor's degree. And no one in my family ever got a college degree. So I started taking all my courses, and I loved going to school. I really loved it. Then I realized, wow, I'm pretty smart. And I never, I never had anybody tell me that. But I realized it because I started getting A's and B's in school, and I was really studying, and I loved studying. I loved doing the research. So, but I knew I couldn't graduate in 4 years because I couldn't go full time.
Yeah.
So I spoke to the head of the theater department. He said, well, what are you going to be doing in 5 years? I said, probably what I'm doing now, except maybe a little more. He said, so just do it. So 16 years later, I graduated from UTA because I took a course either every year or every semester. Mm-hmm. And I finally graduated.
Is that a record, you think?
I think so, because it was a total of 25 years in school.
Damn.
Because it took me 10 years to get through my associate's degree. Yeah. So it must be some kind of a record.
Hey, but you got it done.
I got it done. Important. Yeah. So as soon as I got my degree, I went to Fort Worth ISD and I signed up, took these tests and passed everything. And the background check, I had to tell them, I was busted for marijuana. It was seeds. They really busted me for seeds. And they said, don't worry about it. So I started teaching. And the first year I was teaching middle school students. And it was kind of a love-hate relationship because I loved it. I loved teaching it. But I didn't like people telling me what to do. That was so, because all these years I've worked for myself. So to have somebody tell me what to do, what I can't do, I didn't mind them telling me what I can do. But when they started saying, and you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you have to have these programs for the kids, and and then I realized this is a 24-hour-a-day job, man.
Yeah.
And then I had a run-in. One of the kids stole some cookies from my desk, and I really didn't care because I did the same thing. So I just turned to him, and I was half smiling. I said, "Did you take my cookies?" The kid started cursing at me, and I thought, wait a minute. You might get away with that with your mother, your father, or your siblings. You don't get away with that with me. So I got up and I said, you shut your mouth. And the kid started cursing louder. The gym teacher was passing by, and he looked in. He said, hey, what's going on? And I said, well, you heard him, right? He said, yeah, you want me to bring him to the gym? I said, yeah, I'll be there in 15 minutes. So I went to the gym in 15 minutes. The kid was sitting on, and he was a football player. He was sitting on the floor. And I said, don't you ever talk to me like that ever again. He got up and he pushed me, his hands on my chest. So my Brooklyn came out. I put my arm up on his chest and I cocked back. I said, don't you dare. The gym teacher came running over and he said, I got this. He said, I'll come to your room in a minute. So he came to my room later. He said, you can't do that. I said, wait, do what? You saw the kid push me, right? He said, yeah, but you can't retaliate.
Yeah.
I said, wait a minute. So you're telling me kids could push you around? You can't do anything? He said, you could report it. I said, no. That's
For context, what year was this?
This is 2017.
Yeah.
Yep.
So at that point, how long had you been teaching?
That was my first year.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I went to the office to report it to the principal, and she knew my background because in the interview she said to me, what makes you think that you're qualified to teach these kids? And it was a mostly Hispanic, black school, maybe 3-4% white, which, I grew up in a black and Puerto Rican neighborhood in the Gowanus projects. And that's what I told her. I said, I came from nothing, and I was a troubled kid. I was always in trouble. I wasn't a smart kid. I said, but then, I applied myself and I graduated with honors. So she said, okay, you're hired. So when I went to report this to her, the assistant principal was in there. And I told him the story, and the assistant principal said, well, that's not what we heard. It's going to be investigated. And I said to her, yeah, but I'm the teacher and I have a witness. She said, it's still going to be investigated. Then she gives me a book. The book said on the cover, how to deal with kids in poverty. I looked at this, I looked at her, and I looked at the principal. How to deal with kids in poverty? I grew up in poverty. And I looked at it, I said, okay, thanks. I walked out. The next day I went to Fort Worth ISD and I turned in my letter of resignation. They said, do you want to quit now? I said, no. I gave my word. I'll go to the end of the semester. And that was it. So I will substitute now. I don't mind substituting because now I could pick the schools.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the best grade, 3rd grade.
Really?
They are the best. Somebody told me, go into elementary schools and you'll have a blast. I said, no, I don't want to do that. Then I just thought I'd try it. I fell in love with these kids. So I love going into it. And, when I do go into high schools or middle schools, I share my testimony with them of where I came from and all the things I've done. And I was Robin Williams' stunt double, worked with Joe Pesci. And when I do my Pesci impersonation, they think I'm really Joe Pesci. And I tell them, no, I'm really not. So, with the high schoolers, I could say, I make you laugh? How do I make you laugh? What am I, funny? Am I a clown? Do I amuse you? No, you said I make you laugh. How do I make you laugh? And I keep the curse words out of it because you can't curse to these kids, although you really can, but they can anyway.
Yeah, that's really good, man. I can't remember what movie that's from, but I remember
Goodfellas. What are you talking about? Yeah. You can't remember Goodfellas? Oh, you have your big show over here, your big podcast, and you can't remember a stupid movie. Goodfellas.
All right, Joe. All right. I'll take it back.
All right, then I'm not going to wait for you outside.
Dennis, I really appreciate you being on the show, man. And
Thank you.
We've got, we don't always have to bug Paul Rogers over here at Nexum Creative. We've got a brick and mortar location not too far from here, so you're always welcome to come in and have a drink with me and tell your stories. And
Oh, that'd be great.
I
Yeah.
think we could probably get another 50, 60, 100 hours out of you.
We could. And if I didn't shut my mouth, I could have talked about Bailout more, but that's okay.
So we got 2 episodes completed on Bailout, right? Isn't that what you said?
Oh, yes. And we're heading into our 3rd, but I'm going to do a podcast Bailout with Paul here.
Okay.
So it'll be like the show. Mm-hmm. So you'll hear all the actors and,
cool.
as we're walking up to the door, we'll have all the dialogue. It'll be scripted. And he suggested that to me. I thought I would have a podcast like this, but in character with all the characters.
Yeah.
Just talking. But he said, have you ever thought of this? And then he told me the idea. I said, no, I never thought of that.
Paul's got good ideas.
Yeah, he really does. So, and he even said, we can, you can have it for 22 minutes, and then the next, say, 10 minutes, you can do it. You can have a roundabout, just talking about it.
So, are y'all going to release these episodes anytime soon, or are you going to wait until you're finished with the?
Well, one is already on YouTube.
Okay.
It's called "I Am Lorenzo Lamas."
Okay.
Bail Out, 2 words.
Okay.
So if your listeners go to "I Am Lorenzo Lamas," Bail Out, they'll get to see it. Or if they go to bailouttv.com, it's on there.
Okay, and I'll make sure those links are in the description. It's going to be a few weeks until we get this one out. So if anything changes, let me know, and I'll make sure to add it to the show notes and more links and stuff like that. But that's exciting stuff, man. If y'all ever need an extra set of hands, hold a camera or something, let me know.
Serious?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh, I'd love it.
Just let me know.
So what else do you do? Or should I ask you later?
No, it's fine. Everybody knows, I think, that watches the show, but I'm a truck driver.
Oh, man.
For now.
Truck drivers make really good money,
That's the only reason I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Because I like you, I dropped out of high school. I got my GED, never went to college, but I have that CDL. So for me, I'm kind of trapped, because there's nothing else I can do and make this kind of money.
No, you're right.
So, but yeah, it's good money. It's and it's not a bad gig. It's not hard work.
You don't have anybody over your shoulder telling you what to do.
Well, sometimes. You got a little camera in there that watches you all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just spoke to a dispatcher, and he was telling me all of it. Yeah, you're right.
It's gotten kind of silly.
Wow.
So anyway, and I have worked for myself in the past, so I understand what you're talking about, like how hard it is once you've been on your own and done your own thing, how hard it is for somebody to accept that don't do this kind of back and forth shit. It'll get on your nerves real quick whenever you've been the guy making the calls and all the decisions.
Yeah, because as the producer, writer, director, and actor, but as the producer and director, I've had as much as 100 people under me.
Yeah.
And I never boss people around. I always ask them to do things. And, we just have a blast. And I never want pressure. And a lot of times I'll say, okay, before we start, does anybody have any jokes to open up? And so we make it fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'd be a blast to have on the set.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm always trying to find different things that I can do to kind of connect myself with the Fort Worth community, and I've been offering to help other people with their creative endeavors for a while. And if you want me to help out, you'd be the first one to take me up on that offer. So
I will.
Yeah,
I definitely will. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Do you have any social media that you want us to direct the fans towards?
Well, bailouttv.com. Let me see what else. I'm trying to get a handle on this
social media crap.
Yeah, not so much Twitter because it's getting so political, but Instagram.
Yeah.
So that's what I really want to learn about. So if anybody out there can teach me,
I think Paul's the dude to help us out with that.
Oh, really?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, okay.
Paul's very social media savvy.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
All right. Well, Dennis, thank you again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week, Fort Worth Roots. Dennis O'Neill, thank you for being part of the Fort Worth Roots podcast. We want to get you in studio over here on the other side of town at the Fort Worth Roots studio to catch up and get some more of these cool stories. You can't just do a one-off with somebody that's got that many stories. That's not how it works. Folks, make sure you check out in the links for the description on this episode. We're going to have Bailout, the web series that we were talking about and he described in this episode. I'm also going to include a link for that video I played during the episode, his first ever acting gig. It was hilarious to watch. A little bit of an adult warning here. This is not a video you want your children to see, as Dennis illustrated in this episode. He didn't want his students to see it, but that's the power of the internet. Nothing is a secret anymore. Can't hide anything. All right, what do we got? Roofing Solutions by Darren Houk is the sponsor of the Fort Worth Roots podcast. You can find them at Roofing Solutions by Darren Houk, roofingsolutionshouk.com, and he will give you that 50% off that roofing tune-up just by mentioning the Fort Worth Roots podcast. Reach them at 817-882-6520. Hey, if you just moved to North Texas, you don't know this yet, this is the worst place to have a roof. You need a good roofer, and that's why we were excited to partner with Roofing Solutions by Darren Houk, because they have a sterling reputation. They do this stuff all the time. They've got awards from everybody you can think of, and they have a great rating. Better Business Bureau, Google, whatever. Just do your own homework if you want to, but we don't just accept sponsorship from anybody. We want the best of the best. And Darren Houk and his team at Roofing Solutions by Darren Houk, they got it covered. 817-882-6520, and you really do need to think about having one of these roofing tune-ups so that you can protect your most valuable asset, your home, right? That roof starts leaking, you got problems. Woodpost Metalworks, woodpostmetalworks.com is where you can go, and at checkout, if you'll hit podcast 817, you'll save 10% off of this. Plasma cutting, light industrial steel work, steel fabrication. They've been doing a lot of signs for businesses lately. So if you got a business and you need some new signs, either interior or exterior, these folks can put whatever you can dream up on metal. It's going to last a lifetime. And keep Fort Worth dollars in Fort Worth pockets, right? So support your local people. You know you want people coming to your store here locally. Don't you want to support a local business too? Yeah, you do. Aside from all that goodwill and stuff, they have some incredible products. They know exactly what they're doing. And like I said, you can get 10% off. Woodpostmetalworks.com. It's not just for businesses. They got some cool stuff in there. Wonderful gift ideas. I'm always talking about their smoke pits. You break them down. They got pins, and you pull them, and it collapses. It lays flat. You can take it with you wherever you go. So you're going camping, you're going to a tailgate party, whatever. When you get there, and this can be customized however you want it, you pull it out of the truck, car, whatever. It's not big enough that it can't be transported in a car. Unfold it, put the pins back in, and now you got a fire pit. It's pretty dope. I like it. There's a USMC, and I'm an Army guy, but the Marine Corps one looks pretty dope. So anyway, check that out. Woodpostmetalworks.com. Don't forget your 10% off at checkout. Podcast 817. Houk. Holy crap. What was that? Okay, we're good. Houk Walker Originals. You can go to houkwalker.com. And do I have one of these cups in here? I do. And the video's not rolling right now, but I'm going to pull it out of the case. I keep one here in the shop at the studio, and it's just this really badass tumbler that they bought and then made all custom like for me. Fort Worth Roots. It's got the logo on there, and you're supposed to have like a specific type of format for an image in order for it to get put on an object like this. I didn't have that. But she took my logo from like a regular old PDF, and she created a very, very clean looking rendition of my logo on this cup with their laser etcher. The reason I tell you that story is because they know what they're doing. So hit them up, and it's more than just laser etching. They do woodworking and all sorts of cool stuff. Great gift ideas. Go check out their website. It's houkwalker.com. Thank you to our sponsors. I don't have any announcements this week. I'm being boring, you know. I got to be boring sometimes. We don't have anything coming up. There are things working in the background. There's ideas and stuff. There are plans afoot. We're just not there yet. We've got lots of details to cover before I start telling you about our next event. But we do have stuff coming up. And the River Oak Spring Fest Car Show is probably going to be the next big thing that we're doing. And I think there's a date on this. I need to start putting this in the show notes. We do have a date. And I don't have it in front of me. It would take too long for me to look up. But you can look up the River Oak Springfest Car Show. They have their own page on Facebook, and we will be posting that stuff like crazy on our Facebook page, which is Fort Worth Roots on Facebook. It's Fort Worth Roots on everything, just to be clear. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And if you ever wanted to see more goofy stuff because you don't get enough goofy stuff in your diet, Our TikTok page is our dumpster. I put all the stupid stuff that I do in our TikTok page. I'm actually making a video right now. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. There's a lot of cussing in it, but I might put it on TikTok. Fort Worth Roots is how you find that TikTok page. And this video I made today was of me doing the intro and outro thing. And I'm going to have to watch it and just make sure that my cussing wasn't too out of control, because what you don't hear whenever I do these intros and outros is dozens and dozens of minutes of me just messing up, screwing up, saying stupid stuff, cussing at Mr. Creepy. He doesn't deserve that, Mr. Creepy. I'm so sorry. But it's a whole process, and I actually videoed it today. I'm not sure why I did that. I think I had a point, and then I forgot what it was, but that might be on the TikTok page. Follow us. Whatever social media platform that you're looking at whenever you're letting your legs fall asleep on the toilet, that's where I want you to follow me. Okay? That's the one you're paying attention to. Get your information there. We are most active on Facebook for the Fort Worth Roots. So if you want information on our artists, whenever they got gigs coming up, maybe they're playing at Gemelli's, they're over there at Woodshed, they're playing at Attico. Why did I just name off 3 Tim Love restaurants? I guess that's where my head's at. Went and checked out Bird and Branch, or Branch and Bird, yesterday. That was really cool. They've got a badass open patio. I think you're on like the 10th, 11th, 12th, 15th floor or something like that. Great view. Go check that out. They're not a sponsor. They're not actually involved with the podcast at all. It's just where I had dinner, and it was great. Great view, decent food. I'm not going to tell you the food was exceptional, but do go ready to spend $1 or $2. It was not cheap. Great view, wonderful staff. They had a gentleman there playing live acoustic musics, and it was really good. So worth your time. Branch and Bird, Bird and Branch, something like that. I'm not even going to put it in the show notes. So anyway, good luck figuring that out. Okay, I'm just rambling. If this is your first time listening to the Fort Worth Roots podcast, this is what I do. Everything else is supposed to be pretty clean and professional and stuff, and then at the end of it, I just get to ramble and tell you things. Had Sam Esquivel from the Feld podcast in here today. That was fun. We did a little recording. I got to show him the mobile podcast studio. If you guys have not seen or heard me talk about the mobile podcast studio, we just recently purchased a ginormous box truck, and we are going to be modding that thing out so that we have a very comfortable, very professional looking mobile podcast studio. So, and we are looking for sponsorships still. This thing is a giant billboard, and we want to put, reputable businesses information on the side of this thing. So if you'd like to help us bring this thing to life and advertise your business in the process, I'm about that. We're here for it. Is that what Chad says? I think he changed it to I'm there for it, because we got tired of hearing him say I'm here for it. So anyway. Oh, happy birthday to Susie. I was out there this weekend at Lola's. Compliments of Dustin Snyder from the Jerry Jonestown Massacre invited me out to play surprise whenever Susie came around the corner. She looked surprised. I think we pulled it off. I think Dustin did a really good job. Susie is from Fort Worth Famous, and Dustin Snyder, JJTM. We had a lot of cool people out there. The Funky Panther was there. Had Chad and Tim. Javier, of course, was MIA, but anyway, cheers, Javier. We'll see you next time. All right, that's it. I have rambled enough. Thank y'all very much for being a part of the show. Every single time you listen to even one episode of the Fort Worth Roots, shows up on our analytics, and it makes it easier for us to reach a broader audience. So believe it or not, just listening is supporting the show. So thank you. All right. Oh, last thing. I swear to God, last thing. I'm going to show the little camera here. Sam Esquivel has presented the Fort Worth Roots podcast with the trophy. We are the winners of You're the Best 2022, presented by the Feld podcast for the Fort Worth Roots. I'm holding a little trophy here for this camera, this video that I don't know what I'm going to do with. We'll see if I use it at all. Okay, that's it. I love you. Y'all have a good week, and I will see you next Monday. Peace.